Okay, looks like we're alive. Feels like we're alive. Da-da-da-da-da. Yep, I think we're looking good. Hey, everybody. Looks like we're alive. Feels like we're alive. Hold on, I'm going to get a redundancy here, so let me get the volume turned down. Hey, everybody, it's your favorite nerd, Mike Meyers, coming to you with the Monday edition of the Mike Meyers live stream of Ask Mike Anything. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus opportunities to continue our CompTIA studies. We concentrate here primarily on the CompTIA A+, Net Plus, and Security Plus, but we are very comfortable moving outside into other CompTIA certifications as well as non-CompTIA certifications as well. So if you want to talk about AWS, we're your boys. We can have that kind of conversation. So I don't know if you noticed, but it's looking a lot better around here than it normally does. This is my dear friend Stephanie DeLong has joined us today. Stephanie, you're from Kentucky, right?
Yes, Louisville, Kentucky.
I love Louisville, Kentucky. The funniest thing about Louisville, Kentucky to me is every time you go there, when you fly out of Louisville, there's all these little bats, these little tiny bats, because everybody gets those from the Louisville Slugger Company. They get these little bats, and the TSA doesn't like people taking those bats on board an airplane. There you go. You get this big stack, and that you're also very good in Kentucky at making a particular beverage I like, a brown, delicious beverage that I've enjoyed many a time, and will enjoy again. So Louisville's what's a great town. In fact, I was just there. I should have waved. The Skills USA conference, the national finals are held there in Louisville, and it's going to be one more year there before we move on to. Oh no, they moved it. Was it Atlanta?
Yeah, that was Atlanta. I saw you in Atlanta there.
Good thing I'm cute, huh? Good thing I'm cute, huh?
Right, exactly.
Oh, goodness sakes. Sorry about that, Steffi. Of course.
What a long day, though, today.
It's always a long day for sure. All right. So the thing, Stephanie, these guys are great, but they never show up on time. So usually when we first start, there's like 8 people on board. We're up to 25. That's good. So I tend to go a little bit slow at the beginning, if you don't mind, Stephanie, just to give people an opportunity to log in. Let me see who's on. By the way, we got a rowdy group here. Dangerous people. Very dangerous people. Andre de Goyer. He thinks he's from the Netherlands. He's really from Belgium. It's a long story, complicated. Bearded IT guy. I haven't seen you for a while, Bearded IT Dad. Good to see you. Kylie, of course. Scrolling through, who else is on? Come on. Subam, good to see you again. Subam. Tolwood, of course, is always here. All right, so Johnny 5 is here. Johnny 5 is alive. Yeah, you are back, man. Al Mulford, good Lord, Al Mulford. You know, if you just paid me the $3, you wouldn't have to log in every time. You know. So guys, I need to warn you, I literally just got out of outpatient surgery, but about 2.5 hours ago. So I'm actually feeling pretty good. I don't know if you guys remember, I had a messed up right knee. Well, it's not messed up anymore, kids. So we're going dancing, Stephanie. You ready? Come on. Let's do this. See, Stephanie, God learned a long time ago not to make me too pretty or too tall, because, you know, I can talk and I can dance, which, you know, gets you about 90% of the way there.
Yeah, I mean, he knew well enough not to make me a man or I'd take over the world. So right there with you.
There you go. Because that's why God gave me whiskey, right?
Right.
Same thing. All right. Well, listen, guys, Techie Tommy, Justin Kinsey, we got a lot of Cinderfly. Okay. So for some reason, when they give you these painkillers, Stephanie, I get an itchy nose. I can't avoid. I'm going to spend the next hour going like this. Okay. So forgive me.
Can't leave it alone. Okay.
All right. So anyway, guys, we've asked Stephanie to come along mainly to talk about some resume and interview tips and techniques. Stephanie is a walking success story that I really just wish I could make claim to, but I'm pretty sure this young person has done it all on her own and just knew where to get some great tools. So, Stephanie, can you do me a favor? Give me the 30-second, who the heck are you? Kind of, you know, what's happening? And who are you? What are you doing? Go.
Absolutely. So I work 9 to 5 at Humana. I'm a marketing, my official title is a marketing strategist. I also have my own company on the side, which is more how I know you and your world. I have Squad Go. We're a group travel planning company. I'm a co-founder there. Why am I sitting in front of you today talking about interviews? I've worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies in multiple capacities in innovation, research and development, so always teetering on the tech world. So that led me to volunteer with Skills USA, which you are actively a part of. I've been volunteering with them since, I want to say 2015. And I've stepped out of the technical world that I started in over there, and I focus on the soft skills module within the computer maintenance and IT competition. So that means I've been interviewing in a professional capacity and a volunteer capacity with people who are job hunting, with college students, high school students, just hundreds of interviews every year, helping people do their best.
Excellent. And I hear nothing but great things, and we sure do appreciate that you work you do. Certainly appreciate the volunteerism you give to the ITS program at Skills USA, Stephanie. What a wonderful sacrifice, as they say, especially when you're flying back going, why am I doing this every year? And but of course, we know exactly why we're doing it. It's for the kids, and I think it's an absolute great program, and so much fun to have you on board as well. Thank you so much. But the thing we got some interesting conversations, Stephanie. I need to warn you, I'm going to kind of push you outside of your envelope here a little bit and just ask you for some opinions. And there's just some interesting things going on these days, good stuff, happy stuff. And I'll be curious to hear what your opinion is. So now, guys, do keep in mind that this is the Ask Mike and Stephanie Ask Mike Anything program. So the whole goal here, what you need to be doing is you need to put questions up into the chat. Now, so we look up at the chat window. Of course, mine's over here to my left, my right rather. So I'm going to hit where it says hit the pull down next to top chat and change it from top chat to live chat. That gets the YouTube algorithm out of there, and it's not quite as you can be a little salty in there. We'll catch you in a second if you kill it, but we're not really here to make money on this, so I'd rather have questions that I can see and find. So that would be the first thing. So do keep in mind, in order to ask a question, just type it into the live chat. And guys, Stephanie going to be with me the whole hour? Do you have enough time? Or
I do, yeah.
Okay, so unless something explodes behind you, I'm just going to ask that you stick with me for the hour. And so we started here at 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time, and we're going to go till 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. What time zone are you in, Stephanie?
I'm Eastern.
I guess that is. Indiana is kind of like the East and West. It's kind of the line. I used to live in a little town in southern Indiana called Holland, Indiana.
I've heard of it. Never been.
You're not missing a thing. You blink and literally, it wasn't even a 1 traffic light town. It was a 0 traffic light town. But actually, it was a great place to live. Anybody from out there from Holland, Indiana? Hello. I had a great time. I was Opie Taylor, man. It was a good time. Also, Crazy Homebody Girl showed up. Good. All right, fine. We can start talking now. Kim Jong-Oof is here. Who else is here? Joseph.
Names.
All right. So Stephanie, do you have access to the questions that are being posted in the Total Seminars channel? That is absolutely fine. I'll go ahead and just read there. And there are already people asking you some resume-based questions. And so be ready. We're going to go ahead and fire some of those off. Oh, great. Goodness. There's quite a few questions. Excellent. All right. So, guys, we do want to dive in. Now, do keep in mind, sometimes people have questions that are more elaborate and you're not super comfortable just typing them into the live chat. If that's the case, feel free to email me directly. So I'm just going to type in, usually I have a slide, but since we're running on the Zoom meeting. So my email, lots of emails, but one of them is michaelm@totalsem.com. Feel free to, oh goodness sakes, hang on, let me try it again. Stephanie, the algorithm grabbed the @totalsem.com and decided to change my email address. Let's try again.
I think my favorite, whenever I do anything with the Skills USA people, they're always way more technical than I am. So my favorite interactions with them, or when tech things go wrong, like at Skills USA this year, watching Adam run around, try to figure out how to get the Wi-Fi up, the most fundamental issue that plagues all of us. It's the highlight of my day, honestly.
And Stephanie, it happens every year. Isn't that funny? And
Yeah.
what happens is everybody, we all get busy, right? And then as the national starts showing up here, we're like, oh, we need to invent it. And then, and things get updated. And Adam's done an amazing job with that program. These things do keep coming up. It's so funny.
The complicated things go off without a hitch, but like it's always the basic, the smallest aspect. And I will say, this being his first year handling that on his own, he did a really, really good job.
Yeah, I think you did a great job too. And I had a great time because all I had to do was sit around and look cute.
Same.
Well, you're actually working there. You're running the interview thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long day, a lot of talking.
No, I walk around and just go like this. Hello, hello. This is the only good thing about being old, Stephanie, right? Is that they just, they're going to pay you to walk around.
Well, now on your knees, you'll be walking all day.
Yeah, man, I've done that a bunch of times too, but it's just it's work. Work. That's a 4-letter word for me, Stephanie. I don't know about you. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start diving in. Are you ready? So, guys, I'm going to scroll through looking for questions directed towards Stephanie. However, what I want you guys to know is that I'm good at missing questions. So if I missed one of your questions, just type it again. Don't type it in 8 times in a row. Just type it in a couple of times. I promise I'll catch it. But if I miss it the first time, don't get mad. Just type it again. No big deal. All right. So hold on. So Andre he's one of our oldest viewers, Stephanie, and he's in the Netherlands. And I always make this joke about Belgians because Americans don't know the difference between someone from Holland and someone from Belgium. It's just our lack of geography. So we've made this joke. And here's the funny part is, you ready? I've been calling him Belgian like forever. Nope. I really am Dutch. Mike just calls me his Belgian friend all the time, which is absolutely true. Just because I think it's funny.
All right. I will keep that in mind. I'll be aware of the distinction.
I don't think Andre would be too worried if you called him anything at all. It's always good. Okay. Now keep in mind, some of these questions don't have instant answers, Stephanie. So I want you to don't be afraid to be harsh when necessary. So this is from my friend Joseph, and he says, how can I make my resume look more appealing if I currently have no certifications or IT experience? I've got an opinion on that, but I want to hear what you have to say first. What do you think, Stephanie?
So this is an interesting question. People have this, and no matter what field you're in, whether I think I'll look to you to answer to the IT piece of it, but I would be interested to know, why are you applying for a job if, in your opinion, you're not qualified for it or you don't have the experience that they're looking for? Something about that job listing has caught your attention, whether it's something you have experience that you think in your mind once you get the interview, you can speak to it, or if it's something that you like to pursue or that's where you're heading. So it depends on which one of those situations fits you specifically. So if it's something that you're thinking, if I land the interview, I can speak to that in person, what would you speak to? What if you break down that job listing itself and there are specific characteristics or experiences that they're looking for, is there anything that you can mold from your job history that seems like it would fit? And I'm talking about, like, if they're looking for, let's make this really basic, they're looking for someone who's organized and thrives in a fast-paced environment, and you're thinking of a specific project that you work on where that would be a great example to talk to in the interview. Find a way to pull that into your resume. Like, what were you tasked with to do, and what was the result of that? Try to fit that in your job, your relevant job experience. If you have more time, and like this is a job that you see has popped up a couple of times in the last couple of months, is there a way for you to get that experience through like volunteer work, like not necessarily working with Skills USA specifically, but are there opportunities where you can work with local businesses if it's something like, again, keeping it simple, IT service desk situation. So many companies have that need. Can you just call up a small business in the area, tell them your situation, you're looking for jobs in this industry, you see that they're a small business, maybe they need support. Can you volunteer to work with them and build their relationship that way to get the experience to put on your resume? That's how I would approach it.
Sure. But I think there's all kinds of interesting drill down stuff here, Stephanie. Lie. Just lie. It's not like people really check. Seriously, what's the downside to what do we call embellishing our resume? Now, don't play company person here. What's the practical reason why it's a bad idea? Or maybe it's a good idea secretly.
So I would say it depends. It depends on how you define lie. So
yeah, that's good.
I've never been one to, again, it depends on what is the scale of what they're looking for. When I am looking at an interview, and if I'm looking at someone's resume, they're applying for a job that I've posted, and I don't see a one-to-one comparison on what I've asked for and what they've given me, I'm not going to go fact check every single thing that they've written down. So to your point, if it's something where you're like, this doesn't seem exactly to fit what you're looking for, but I have it there anyway, I think that makes sense. It gives you an opportunity to open that conversation once you're there in front of the interviewer. To the other point, there was a statistic that was like, men will apply for a job, even if they only meet like 60% of the job requirements, they will still submit their application. Women will apply for a job only if they feel that they fit 90% of the qualifications. So women are a lot less likely to look at a job listing and lie on their resume, because we always feel that we have to tell the truth. If we don't have everything you're looking for, you're not going to want us. So I think I'm never a proponent for lying in an interview or like saying that you can do something that you can't, although I have seen people that have done that and have been extremely successful in their careers because maybe they didn't have the experience or the certification at the time they applied, but they did go get it. Once they landed the job, they went and got that certification, and then they've been very successful in their career since then.
Well, I certainly agree. I do not want people lying, but you have to agree that it is something that is done a lot.
It is done a lot.
And, it's like anything else, guys. If you're going to lie on your resume, then just drive without a seatbelt. You'll probably be fine, right? But it's not a good idea. So I say that, Stephanie, because a lot of times I feel in our society, we work so hard to be right on the company line on everything. And I don't know that that's always a good thing. Okay. Just for you and me, I look at laws as kind of like guidelines. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't have a problem breaking rules if I know it's going to get us where we need to be. And we get there in a way that we smell good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So to that point too, about the guidelines, the job posting is a request sheet. This is what they want in the perfect candidate. It's not, this is the only candidate we will hire.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to make it through the different screening technology. But once you're in the interview, I think it's all up to you in the prep. And I'm assuming we'll probably talk about how you prepare for your interviews later. But think about and strategize. What did you see in that listing that appealed to you? What in the job description applies to you personally, or what in your experience can you make apply to the job? And think about that well before you're sitting in front of your interviewers. Strategize your answers and think about, what do you have to talk to this person? What will you not leave before you mention? And how can you make sure that it fits in the interview, like once you're there?
Oh God, Stephanie, again, this is just like we should be hugging. We're on the same line here. One of the challenges that I run into with people who are applying for jobs, working for me directly, where I'm actually doing the interviewing, is that I don't think, I want to say this nicely, I don't think it's a smart idea to wait until you have 90% matchup on job requirements before you pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with me or disagree? You're shaking your head.
No, I agree completely. I would not look for the job that you meet 90%. Like that. That's probably
that's your job.
You'll be leaving that job in a year. If you
Yeah.
already have it all, you're not going to be satisfied in that role.
How do you feel about the statement that employers will often add fluff to a job description to weed out the people who don't have the chutzpah to ask for the job anyway?
I don't know. That's a broad question. I think if people are doing that, I'm a huge proponent of not playing games in the hiring practice. I don't like to keep people in the dark. I like to be transparent as much as I can. So I would love to not on either side of the application process. I don't want to play games when I'm making the posting, and I don't want to be playing games when I'm applying for interviews. So I think it makes sense for the employer to put out, like, again, what is the perfect candidate? If somebody walked in today, what would be like the dream qualifications that I would want in this person doing this job that I have? That makes sense to me to post out there of, in a perfect world, let me get as close to that as I can. As an interviewee, again, like, if you're looking for the job that you have 190%, 100% of the qualifications, you're not going to be fulfilled in that role for long, because we all need growth. We all are looking for an opportunity that aligns with us and our values, our morals, or some of us just that pays the bills. But if you're looking for the job that simply pays the bills, you're not going to be fulfilled at the end of the day, and you probably won't last long in that position.
Oh gosh, Stephanie, I agree with you so much. These folks get tired of me talking about passion. Have a passion. You know, people ask me, well, what are you going to retire? I go, I retired 25 years ago, which is really the truth. I have fun every single day. Man, you're answering, people are going to think that you're a plant or something. You're answering these questions so perfectly. But we do have quite a few questions here. So Stephanie, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump back into some of these. Guys, if Stephanie and I do not answer your question to your satisfaction, just ask it again, okay? But I don't think we'll have that problem. All right, this is from my friend Kylie Powder. How can I explain large gaps in my resume? If I'm not working for a few years, what do we do with those gaps?
Well, what are you doing in those gaps? I think that's the question. I don't know anybody that would be sitting around at home, not working just because they don't want to work. I think there's typically extenuating circumstances. As an interviewer, I can understand why you would want to know, like, what were you exploring other opportunities? Were you exploring passions? Were you working, being a homemaker? Like, what was going on in that gap? And how did you use that time in your life to make yourself a better candidate in the workforce when you did re-enter? If you're pursuing passions, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I would never not hire somebody for going and taking a risk or whatever. Chances are there's something you're doing in that gap that applies to the job you're applying for, whatever it is. And it's just on you to, like, sit with that and figure out.
All right, so it's interesting. So here's my question to you, Stephanie. How big of a space can a space be before it becomes a gap?
I don't think there is an answer to that. It depends on, again, like, what were you doing in that time and how were you keeping up in the industry? I can understand if it was like, let's say 10 years, you're in this industry and you have this 10-year gap. If you did absolutely nothing in the field that you're now applying for, that's concerning, because I would say you would likely be out of touch in any industry with 10 years of not touching it. But in that time, again, whatever you're doing, how are you staying in touch assuming you were planning to return, or like maybe you realized a year ago you were going to return, how did you get back up to speed, and how do you continue to stay up to speed with the latest?
Okay, but like a 4-month gap, would you just ignore that?
Maybe if it depends on there's so many how the conversation goes, but likely I wouldn't really call it out.
Yeah, to me that would be, so where's the magic number, right? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? I don't know either. And
compared to years, that is more of like what went on there. But yeah, months, I wouldn't be concerned.
Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie. That's what I'm just. Again, I know there's no right answer. I just get curious, because it happens for a lot of folks. Absolutely.
And it also, the question, I feel like, just one more thing on that, it depends on what happened before that gap. Like, is this person coming out of school, taking a break, and then, sorry, there's like a fly in here. is the person taking time to like sit with everything they just learned? Is there, maybe they just left like a director position in their job, they take some time off. I don't know what that looks like to be with family and just get back to themselves before re-entering the workforce. It's definitely a case-by-case basis, but I think, again, you can defend, and I put that in quotes because it's not, you don't have to be defensive about it, but you can definitely strategize what you choose to share with your potential employer around what you were doing at that time.
So I would be curious, these are one of these situations where, gosh, Stephanie, you're gonna have to come back. We're almost halfway done for the hour already. How crazy is that? We got a lot more questions. I'm gonna let's just do some more questions. Sorry,
Okay.
it just
I warned you, I'm a talker.
Oh, me too. And it's an absolutely fascinating conversation. Let's see how things go. If we ran a little over an hour, would that be a problem for you today?
That's okay.
Okay, let's see how it goes. I don't want to hold you to anything there. And so let's see. And I literally have this big cast and all this stuff on my leg right now. And, I'm still wearing my hospital socks, those ones with the treads on them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that goes. Hey, so now listen, guys, just because you're nice enough to show up today, do keep in mind that, as always, we offer massive discounting on Total Seminars products. In particular, this week, we offer a combination of, let's say you're interested in going for secure, let's say Network Plus. They all work the same. As I always tell people, you need 3 things to pass any certification. Doesn't even have to be IT. It could be nursing. Number 1, you need instruction, which is going to be instructor-led, or it's going to be videos or somebody giving you that instruction. Number 2, you're going to need reference, which in my case is a book. I'm a big believer in books. Stephanie, I'm selling more paper books today than I ever have in my entire career. Isn't that wacky?
That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. I call it mailbox money, Hey, look what's in the mailbox. Money. But then the third thing you need is some way to test yourself. And that's practice questions. So what we offer here at Total Seminars, just because you're nice enough to show up, we have a 50% discount on any combination of ebook and practice test. And Stephanie, we call them our total tester here, but it's just the practice question banks. So what we do for folks, and just because you're showing up, you can head over to our website. Dave Rush has got this all posted in the live chat. Head over to our website, www.totalsem.com, TOTALSEM.com. Head over to the merchants area, and let's say you're interested in Network Plus, grab the Network Plus ebook, put that in your cart, grab the Network Plus Total Tester, and just before you check out, type in the discount code FLAKES, FLAKES, FLAKES. So part of the fun for me, Stephanie, is trying to figure out why Dave Rush uses these wacky discount codes.
I was trying to figure that out too. I was like, okay, how would FLAKES, where does that come in?
Yeah, you gotta be, if somebody died or something like that. Oh, Dave's giving this one away. 1898 this week, Kellogg invents Kellogg's cornflakes.
Okay.
There you go. But anyway, do take advantage of these great deals, guys. These are 50% off. Look, I'm already about the cheapest of the good quality products out there. And then for a deal like this, Security Plus or A Plus or CASP, whatever you want. We have a vast library and you get 50% off of whatever you choose. So please do take advantage of that and just let them know that Stephanie DeLong sent you. Okay, you don't have to do that part, but okay, lots more questions, Stephanie. I'm sorry, I gotta get that plug in.
Yeah.
Bearded IT dad. This is an old. This is a wacky human being, Stephanie. Be careful. All right. How do you feel about cover letters? Are they still a good practice?
I'd say that depends on the company that you're applying for. If the company asks for a cover letter, please send them the cover letter. They're asking for it. I would say that goes to your point, Mike. If the company is trying to weed out lazy applicants, that's a pretty good way to do it. A lot of people don't want to spend the time writing a cover letter. And if they do write a cover letter, I've seen people kind of copy and paste from one job to the next, and it's pretty obvious. So if you are writing a cover letter, start from scratch. Take the time to look at the job posting, look at the company, look at your experience, and figure out what, if this person reads only your cover letter, what do you want them to take away from that? It's their only interaction with you at all. You have total control of what that narrative is. They have no way to object or to interrupt or be distracted. So I think be intentional with it if you're going to do it. But if they don't ask for it, I think a lot of times the application process today is digital. So some places don't even have a way for you to enter it. You can add an extra attachment if you want to go above and beyond. But when I see applications, we don't ask for cover letters in my role today. So they don't even make it to me. So if they're not asking for it, maybe save yourself the time and don't bother unless it's a job that you're really interested in, and or you have the hiring manager's information and you can send it directly.
Excellent. That's always an interesting one. Like I've gone through the make 4 different types of cover letters depending on the types of jobs you're looking for. But I will admit to being a cut it and pasting type of person. But at least I try to start from scratch, make a customized a letter, but then I will change it out depending on the job itself. So I don't know.
It doesn't have to be super long. I think people are really intimidated by the like letter part of the cover letter, but it's like this soft interview of who are you, why are you interested in this position, and what makes you a good candidate for the role. It doesn't have to be anything exhaustive, but definitely be yourself in that letter.
All right. Thank you. That's that. And Bearded IT Dad, thanks for a good question. Those are the things that I think about all the time. Okay, so Techie Tommy, well, I had a job counselor suggest using traveling as a resume gave explanation. Sure, I'd go with that.
Yeah. I think going back to, you don't have to lie about things. Just tell your truth and like there are very few things I think that any interviewer would say that was a huge waste of your time. I don't know why you would do that. I'm not considering you for the job anymore. Like I can't even think of an example of why I would say that. Whatever you were doing in that time, I would argue there's a way for you to share that professionally, but in a way that would tell your interviewer more about who you are as a person and why you would make a good teammate for them going forward.
Sure, absolutely. So Dave Rush himself has a question for you. What is the most common thing that you encounter on resumes that are red flags?
Typos.
Ooh, yeah.
If you don't take the time to proofread your resume, that's very scary to me because, and it's not just like, if there's one typo, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, like this person's unprepared. But if you have like typos across the board, I've seen some pretty bad ones. That tells me that you don't review your work when you're looking for a job. And that's the time that people spend the most time preparing for something. Maybe not across the board in the position, but that's something that everybody knows you should really be prepared going into. And if you can't make sure that there are no typos in your resume itself, that tells me you're probably not going to be a very good employee. Very thorough.
Yeah, but Stephanie, you have to keep in mind, I don't have to worry about typos because I have a spill checker.
Oh yeah.
It spills all my chicks.
That I don't know if that sounds like a dad joke to me, Mike. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, it's totally a dad joke. You kidding? Yeah, it's the only good thing about being 60, Stephanie. All I can do is dad jokes. Spell checker.
Can you use the phrase dad joke if people aren't dads? I think I make dad jokes, but I don't know if
No, it's all good. You're welcome. You come on board.
Welcome to the club. Okay.
We'll take you. There actually are some quite a good questions here, Stephanie. I apologize that I'd like to develop on some of these more, but the questions are intriguing. This is from Cole Wash. I got a BS in computer science and nearing the end of my first year as a network engineer. I have job experience that's not tech related. I've been told to cut non-tech related jobs to look fresh and new, but I'm not. Tips?
So this is a good question. I think to generalize it and scale it, make it more broadly applicable to everyone, you do not need to include every professional experience you've ever had for every job you ever apply for. I think in your case, if there is a reason you want to include the non-tech experience in this job without knowing what that job is, by all means, go for it. If it makes sense for the job that you're applying for, if there are skills that you learned or you've grown as a person because of that, I would include it and make sure to speak to that in your interview. Don't include things that you don't plan to talk about once you're sitting in front of your interviewer. and just don't include things that are outright irrelevant.
Yeah. So the only thing I would add there, and again, agreeing completely with you say, is there's tons of non-tech related jobs that have real experience, managerial experience, sales experience, research experience. So these are things that may not be technical for your particular job you're gunning for, but the management is, the sales is, the research is, and don't, just because you're not, programming C++, that doesn't mean that you don't have good information. That's the only thing I would add to what you said, Stephanie. I've got an opinion on everything, Stephanie. It's amazing.
No, I mean that it makes absolute sense. And the other thing too, with what you said, I don't remember what the title was for the person that shared that advice, but be careful who you take advice from. Like, everybody has an opinion. Everybody, like even me, be careful with what you listen to from what I'm telling you. Weigh it against your own situation, and just do what feels right to you. At the end of the day, always be yourself from beginning to end of the job hunting process. And if there's something that you feel would make you a better candidate for the job you're applying for, absolutely include that on your resume. But do consider, does this apply? Will I speak to this? Will it help me in that role? If the answer is no, then maybe leave it off.
How many, this is my question for you, Stephanie. How many pages is the perfect resume?
There is no perfect resume.
Give me a range.
I typically look for a 1 page. I have had longer and I've had shorter, but each situation is different. The shorter ones, I can appreciate the brevity. Usually it's information that is 90% of it is exactly applicable to the role that I've posted. I've seen longer ones where there's like, they're talking about research projects that they've done or hot side projects or hobbies that are relevant to the posting itself. And that's really interesting information that doesn't fit in a traditional resume. So again, if you can defend everything that you're including or not including, that makes sense to me. A half-page resume though, like that, let's not get crazy. But if it's like a couple lines short of a page, that's not a game changer for me.
Excellent. Okay. So Stephanie, just so you know, we've had so many more questions coming that normally we do a giveaway every week, every day. And we're going to skip today's giveaway and we're going to do two. No. We'll do 2 on Wednesday, just okay, because I want to make sure these questions are all addressed. If by some chance we get through them, then fine. We can still do a competition. But guys, if you're sitting here just for the competition today, we've got so many questions that I'm just we're going to skip the competition probably today. If we skip it, we'll pick it back up on Wednesday. So we'll have 2 on Wednesday. So don't feel like nobody's getting robbed around here. Not with nice Miss Stephanie and honest Mike Meyers. All right. Okay, this is TD Washington. For skills section of the resume, should I be general or specific? For example, should I just put in web development or should I put in HTML5, CSS, stuff like that? And by the way, are acronyms okay?
It depends on the industry and the type of job you're applying for, I would say. And Mike, you might have a better answer on the tech part of this than I would. I would say if you're applying for a job that has acronyms in the listing and their industry, it's like industry lingo, like everyone knows what HTML stands for. If it's something that's a little more specific, I might spell that out. If there's a question that people may not know what it is, but like CSS, HTML, that type of stuff, everyone knows. So that I don't see a problem with that. If it's again, and then like to that same point, if you want to capture that all under web design and everyone in the industry knows that entails HTML, CSS, Java, whatever, you can bubble that and spell out other skills that maybe those would be taking the place of. If there are other skills you want to highlight, I think it's personal preference. If I see that people are like, for example, if I were applying or if I had posted a marketing role and people say that they have Microsoft Office experience, and then they go to say like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, it looks to me like you're looking for fillers, and that doesn't help you. It doesn't make you look like a better candidate than somebody who can professionally and succinctly summarize their experience.
Yeah, that kills me when people like put Word in there, because I'm like, do you have skill at plugging in printers? Do you know how to plug in a printer? Do you know how to use a power plug? No? Can you use a telephone? There's just certain things where, in my opinion,
that I don't. Yeah, like what is the point of including that?
Right. And to me, it's stuff that if it's going to be an office environment. Now, if you're going to be working off site somewhere and you want to be talking about, I have expert at sea materials or something that might have something to do with the physical remoteness of a location or something like that. But to me, I say keep it simple. When I write down my skills, I want to make whoever's reading this, who's probably going to be doing the tech interview, I want to intrigue them, and I'll often throw in something silly just for fun, like, help develop the original COBOL or something, just to see if somebody get a laugh out of somebody.
Yeah. But that's yourself, though. Like that is, I would absolutely encourage that. If there's a way you can come across as an authentic human being on the other side of this application process, please do.
All right. So, God, there's so many questions, Stephanie. I apologize for just bouncing from one to the next. And this is I got another question from me. And I need you to be super honest. All right. Do you think somebody with the classic A+, Net+, Security+, make everything else good? Okay. Whatever you else need in picture of this candidate. Do you feel that somebody with those three certifications and no job experience, or at least no direct IT support job experience, can easily, here's the real question, easily find a job? What's your opinion?
That's a pretty technical question, Mike. I'm not in the tech world. I don't think I can speak to those certifications.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Stephanie, you just deal with us so much over at Skills USA. I just assume you're like, one of the tech people. So I apologize. Well, that's a big challenge for us, just so you know, is, I always tell people that certifications do not get you jobs. And we run into a small class of people who are like, oh, I'm going to get 6 certifications, just get these certifications, and I'm going to go out in the job market and get a job. And my attitude is don't. There's plenty of entry-level jobs that don't require any certifications. Mm-hmm. The certifications help you get the job you want. A certification puts your name at the top of a stack of resumes. A certification gets you past HR on little checkbox stuff like that. But otherwise, that's always a big challenge for me. Like, for example, right now here at Total Seminars, Stephanie, I got bought out.
I did not know that.
No, I work for a company, or a new company, which I'm a founder and an investor in. I want to be transparent here, called National Cyber Group. And we've now been in existence for about 4 months. So we're just starting out. Total Seminars is still there. We'll always be at Skills. That's not going to change any of that. But, for years, I've been telling people that if you have a few basic certs, you can get a good job. Okay. But I've always said the $15, maybe $20 an hour range job, which quickly moves up. Mm-hmm. But Skills USA, National Cyber Group, not only did they buy Total Seminars, but they also bought this wonderful company called National Cyber Group. And Stephanie, we're taking people with little to no IT experience. And the adage is, you give us 6 months, we'll give you a 6-figure income job. And the demand is so crazy right now that this is always a big question, because a lot of people have been listening to me say, Mike, for years, you've always said, your certification just gets you the next job, and how do you get on the entry level? And all of a sudden got this whole new level of stuff. Isn't that crazy? And Stephanie, this isn't the first time this has happened in our industry. If you get back to 1991, oh, you got a dog.
Yeah.
I like dogs. I like other people's dogs, because then I can give them back. In 1991, we had something called the Certified Novell Engineer, or CNE, that was getting people jobs instantaneously. Around the year 2000, we had the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, MCSE. We also had some of the Cisco training around the 2010s. And we're just in another situation where, and this is going to last for 5 years. It takes them that long to fill these things up. And then it just goes steady state from there. So that's a big question, and something the technical side of these folks, we're asking ourselves all the time. And I got to quit talking and get back to these questions. Stephanie, I am so sorry.
No, perfect.
Vegas Brent, why do companies put such ridiculous requirements into their job postings, even though we're supposedly having a shortage of workers? I know that to apply no matter what the posting says, but why cause they do this? So Stephanie, I tell people, I go, find the job you have passion for, and have something in terms of your qualifications. But if you're missing certain qualifications, don't just apply. Mm-hmm. That's what I tell them. So anyway, why do companies put such ridiculous requirements in their job postings, Stephanie? Do you have a thought on that?
It's job specific. Some jobs do have a lot of technical requirements, even within Humana, within my company, where you do need to have maybe a laundry list of experience in order to do this specific job. Other times, like we said at the beginning, it's just a company being idealistic and trying to attract applicants with as many of those qualifications as possible. But like you just said, you don't have to have every single one to apply.
Yeah, that's so important. People get so intimidated. That statistic you quoted where the gals will do 90% and guys do 60. Do you have a source for that?
I was just going to say, do not quote me directly, but a quick
okay.
search.
Well, I kind of already have. There'll be hundreds of people watching this, but we'll put in this qualifier.
Yeah, I would say, it was something really shocking when I saw that, but I'll look it up after and I'll send you a link and correct it.
Yeah, but it's just that's a very interesting one. And I'll tell you, in my own experience, I would say that's been probably true from what I've experienced. But it's very interesting. More questions. So you understand these questions are actually being posted in the channel, but because you're on Zoom, I'm just
yeah, sorry, I'm in the wrong platform here.
How quick do you look at an applicant's resume?
So I'm a little deeper into the hiring process. So I don't have a stack of resumes sitting in my inbox. We have a screening company that handles that before, but once I get it, I look at it immediately. I study it to form my questions for that specific applicant. Once we have the interview, I try to schedule them within a week of getting their resume on my desk.
Well, now you got me interested. You have a screener service?
Yeah.
So this is literally doing what we just said, don't worry about, right?
So no, we didn't say don't worry about it. We said that was specific to the cover letter, I think is what we were talking about. Because of that screening service, if they don't ask for the cover letter, a lot of times that cover letter is not getting through. So when we were talking about that, I was saying my company doesn't, or my department does not ask for cover letters. So even if you write one and it's beautiful, I'm not going to get it because of that screening service.
Okay. Right. But the screening service will block things like must have a college degree, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that would.
Yeah.
As a blue collar guy myself, I find that frustrating sometimes.
So do I. Yeah. But we do still have applicants, even though we have a job, like a minimum education requirement, we still have applicants come through. I don't know what they do to their resume differently, but we have had people without a college degree come through, and sometimes they're our best workers.
Yeah.
But it will limit you within a company like ours. It will limit you on how high, like what level of job you can be eligible for down the line. Even though you may succeed in this one, they're just, as you get up the executive level,
no, I agree. It ends up being a problem down the road. And, and I tell so many people, I go, so what's the best certification again? I go, get a bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. Doesn't even have to be an IT, right? When I was at RSA just last month, had this gal come up, pumping my hand. Mike, I love your materials. I'm now an IT security analyst, And she goes, I have a degree in women's studies. And she's like kind of forgot all about that. Now I'm a sister nerd with the rest of you guys. But I do think, and people don't like it when I say that to them. They don't like it, Stephanie, because most people don't want to do anything for 4 years, or at least in my case, in my 4 years, which I turned into 6, I managed to drop out of some of the finest universities in our country.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that is a requirement, but I think somebody mentioned earlier, like we have a lot of companies have so many applicants, there has to be some sort of filtering process, and that's just an easy one, I think, for larger companies to look to. But I'm right there with you. I have an anthropology degree, and everybody looks at me like I have 6 heads when I say that. It's basically just getting the degree gets you in the door, and
It
then
does.
after, it's all on your own.
But it doesn't, yeah, but it doesn't have to. I mean, if you can't, a lot of people, 4-year degree is just not realistic. Then take a look at a 4-year degree. Take a look at a tech school. You know, we got this wacky window like right now with CyberNow Labs, you know, and these are not cheap, Stephanie. They got to drop $6,800.
Oh my gosh.
But that's like half the price of any of these other ones, you know? And for us, and on top of that, like we'll go, look, if you come in with at least a security plus and you're not skipping classes, just give us half the money. Pay us the other half when you got a job, you know? Yeah, that didn't work out too good. A lot of people are like, okay, and poof, they're gone. And they went and got a job anyway. And yeah, so we're working on it. But it's an interesting program. It's just these things don't happen that often, right? I mean, it's different. I had the number 1 or number 2 federal contractor in the United States military, literally sit there and say to me, Mike, I have 1,000 positions I can't fill, that I can't find the people for. So, okay, really, Stephanie, why do you keep distracting me? We're supposed to answer these questions. Goodness sakes. Okay, TC, what are good questions to ask a prospective employer to figure out their company culture?
I love that one. So I take that approach a little differently. You can straight up ask, can you tell me about the culture here? I think a lot of people, when I've seen that question answered by other interviewers, they typically give you an answer like, oh, we're all family here, or it's something that they don't really put a lot of thought into. So the answer you get doesn't always give you the insight you're looking for. So I would try to figure out, when you're asking that question, what are you actually trying to learn? Do you want to know about the environment that you're working in? Is it like work from home, or like, do you have to come in the office every day? Are you wanting to learn what the leadership is like in this new role? Do you want to know how they manage? If it's like hands-on, or if it like, what does that leadership dynamic look like? Are you trying to learn about this person specifically? One of the questions I like to ask of any interviewer is to learn more about the culture is, can you compliment somebody on your team, whether it's somebody like one of your peers, one of your leadership, just compliment somebody. And then I learn about that person, the things that they value in the compliment that they give, and the way that they think about their team and the person that they're complimenting.
I like it. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Azul Maksud, I'm having trouble understanding your question, my friend, and I'm going to skip it. Here, Azul, try asking the question again, man. William Jeske, would a hiring manager demand documentation proving a candidate took a break from working to see a terminal parent through hospice?
If they did, I wouldn't recommend that's a company you work for. That is absurd to prove that.
Okay, because that's going to be a follow-on to a question that's about to pop up here as well. It must be me. Do you see any part-time IT jobs? I haven't seen many.
I think that's a question for you, Mike.
Yeah, the problem is demand is really high right now, and part-time jobs tend to fade in situations where we need full-time employment. It's a lot more expensive to hire a full-time person in the United States than a part-timer. And if we can get away with part-timers, we do it. What you're looking at is demand situations. And I would not look at IT as an opportunity for part-time work, like, I don't know, maybe being a realtor, where you could just kind of work on the weekends kind of a thing. And I'd have to say that I don't see IT as a good place for people who are looking for, you know, the 25, 30-hour work weeks. It's right now, I don't know of any job that isn't pushing you to work way past 40, just because there's just that much work to do. It's not evilness, it's just work to do. I'd have no problem working past 40 hours, but you're gonna have to pay me, Stephanie. That's the only thing I'm a big believer in.
I think you're worth it.
Well, this kind of ties in, Stephanie, to what we were just saying. Are there any red flags to watch out for in the hiring manager during the interview hiring process? And there's actually a corollary to this. Do you encourage interviewing the HM, the hiring manager, in return? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your whole interview process is you interviewing the company. So absolutely take the time, like we talked about in the beginning, take the time to really think about what are you trying to learn in this hiring process. Ideally, you're trying to learn about the team that you would be working with. You're trying to learn about the company and how they operate in that dynamic with their employees and the company itself. So you want to approach the interview with the knowledge that you have just as much power in this situation as the interviewer. Granted, they're the ones that would be giving you, like hiring you, but you have the power to turn it down and walk away. So the first part of that question was red flags in the hiring manager. I would say you have spent all this time looking at all these different companies, reading all these different job postings, figuring out how to make your resume fit to this specific job. Sometimes you're writing that cover letter and you're taking time out of your day to interview with this hiring manager. If they're not giving you the respect of preparing to talk to you specifically, that's a red flag to me. If I'm getting basic questions like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Or if they're all just tell me about a time when XYZ, and it's just, they're reading from a list of questions, that is lazy to me. If they are not taking the time to introduce themselves, to talk about the role, to answer your questions, I think encountering a lazy interviewer is a red flag to you about the dynamic that you'd be walking into when problems arise, when it comes to needing support in your potential role. If that ever happens, that would be a red flag in my opinion. Interesting.
A red flag being canned questions. I've seen many red flags, Stephanie, then where as an interviewer, as an interviewee, where people have done that exact thing. So interesting.
Have you seen that go?
Yeah, probably about as bad as you were describing right there. I mean, usually things happen within the entity that made me unhappy, So no, I'm completely agreeing with you. Yes, thank you.
And that doesn't mean like shut it down, walk away, and never come back. Maybe there is something still for you in that role, but I think that's a pretty good indicator that you either didn't read my resume, or you didn't look at me seriously as a candidate to begin with, or you didn't have time in your day to prepare to write questions or to think about questions walking into this interview, which then what does that say about the culture of the work environment if you don't have time to prepare for your next meeting?
Oh, I've been straight up as an interviewee where I realize that they're not really into this. And I'll say something like, I'm coming in with a powerful toolbox that can make your company do great. And I love quoting what's her name from Mad Men, the one secretary lady who ended up moving up the ranks and becoming a copy editor and all that. I forgot the character's name. Anyway, so there's this guy who's like being obnoxious and asking her for this, that, and the other, and she's like, dude, dazzle me. And she's like, almost takes his watch. It was great. I'm not saying that we should try to grab the watch out of every interviewer we have, but I do, man. I tell you, Stephanie, so much I agree with what you're saying. So many people walk into an interview and they're like, yes, sir. Okay. Yes, yes. And it's like, I'm in here. You've got to sell me. Okay. Because no offense, I can pretty much wave my hand out the back of my car window right now and get job offers. Okay. I'm here because I find you guys amazing, and I find your story amazing, and I find your mousetraps amazing. And I want to be a part of you guys.
Exactly. That's how your interviewers should look at you. Like, you are an asset that I'm trying to bring into my company. If I don't treat you with that respect and give you my time and my preparation, you should be concerned, frankly.
Well, and I do think it requires a certain amount of chutzpah, the type of applicant who will sit on the edge of their chair and, stare down this hiring manager or whatever it is. And, I have found doing that most of the time, the hiring managers, especially if it's a smaller company where you've got some vice president in on that first interview anyway, they end up just making a sales pitch for the company every time. Okay. You know you're going to have to come back, Stephanie. I'm sorry. We're not even going to be able to get to all these questions. Juan Flores asks, what are good questions to ask the recruiter? That's all I've got. Is that enough for you to chew on, or trust me, sometimes, Stephanie, you just got to skip the questions.
I mean, if you're talking to recruiters, they definitely have networks to help you find jobs that are in the realm of what you're looking for. So I think it depends on what relationship you have with that recruiter. Do they already know what you're looking for? It's not so much, I guess, a list of questions for the recruiter. If you're talking about the hiring manager, I'd be a little more intentional there.
I think that's what he might be meaning there, Stephanie. Sometimes you just have to speculate on the question.
Yeah. So with the hiring manager, there's a whole world of research you can do on that individual. If you have their name, I would recommend looking up. So if you don't have the hiring manager's name, look up the company itself, look up the department if you know the department that you're applying for, and see on like Google News, what are they up to in the last month to 3 months? What's coming out about this company? That tells you like whatever image the company is painting of themselves online. Look at their social media, look at the news, look at their Twitter.
Stephanie, I'm high-fiving you. There, that's a high five.
I'll return. So I would say like look up the company as much as you can online on the digital footprint, on what they're choosing to put out there, especially on LinkedIn. What are they interacting with, and what seems like it would be relevant? What do you actually have authentic questions about that you would want to ask the hiring manager? And what do you want to learn more about, or what perspectives do you have for the company if you really want to go above and beyond? If it's in a niche industry, what can you share, or what ideas can you bring about what they could do differently, or where they could go, or are they considering XYZ in that space? If you know the interviewer, the hiring manager, kind of the same advice. Look up their LinkedIn specifically. Don't get too creepy with the social media. I would stick to LinkedIn for the individual and just see like what kind of articles are they sharing? Have they written their own posts? That is super interesting to see. What does the hiring manager value enough to write a whole LinkedIn post about it and talk about it online? What are they congratulating others for on their LinkedIn? Just do your own research and see like what, and again, be authentic in all of these exchanges. What actually stands out to you? What do you want to know more about? And what questions do you have that you didn't answer for yourself online? If somebody, and also another one, going back to the individual, if they've been there for a long time, I love to know what keeps people there. If you've been working for this company in the same role for 12 years, something is keeping you around. Like we were talking about in the beginning, people stay in their roles if they're driven, if they're passionate, and if it's interesting. If it's not, I'm gone in like 2-3 years tops. There's something that keeps them around, and it might be good information for you to know.
I like it. Thank you. And so I'm about to hit you with some of these may be more on the technical side. So just pass, Stephanie, if there's any things that don't quite fit your skill set. I apologize. How many interviews do you typically go through for an entry-level position?
In our world, we have that like screener, which handles the like entry level. What are you looking for? What salary range? Do you have the minimum qualifications?
Right.
So we will have 1 or 2 rounds tops, unless we have a ton of applicants who are all really competitive, then you might see more. But that definitely changes from company to company.
Yeah, to me, most startup entry-level jobs are cattle calls anyway. And it's just, you got to do something, man. You got to apply. So this is another one more on acronyms. I think I know what your answer is going to be. I have experience with CMS, but I never know if I should say CMS or content management systems, or specifically very specific tools like Drupal, SharePoint, and Sitecore.
I would say spell that out. If you're asking if you could include that acronym on there, or if you want to parcel it out. To me, CMS is the Center for Medicare Services. I'm in a
There you go.
and that means something completely different to me. So I would say spell it out. If you're not sure, spell it out.
Benjamin, why do companies have entry-level job openings but ask for their candidates to have 3 to 5 years of experience?
That beats me. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why they do that. Why they
Because
call
they're
it.
trying to scare away people who don't have the chutzpah to apply for it. That's my opinion. And it does happen. It's surprising, Stephanie, how often we'll see, entry-level position must have a master's degree and 5 years of experience as a court jester or whatever it is. Juan Flores, how difficult would it be for someone to land an interview that has little job experience at all?
I would say, again, it comes down to how much you've prepared for, like how much are you working on your resume to get into that interview? And once you land the interview, how authentically and intriguingly can you speak to you, whatever experience you do have and how that fits to the job description. It's all in selling yourself. We've hired people who are less experienced or with less direct experience for the jobs that we're looking for because of who they are as people.
Gotcha. All right, so it's 3:06. I'm going to try to sneak in 2 more quick questions. Okay, Stephanie?
Yeah.
And guys, I'm sorry we cannot get to everybody's questions. I did not warn Stephanie that we would potentially run past our. I do not want to take advantage of this young person. And Stephanie, we desperately want you to come back. You're very well received here. And I'd hope that, keep in mind the vast majority of the viewers we have here are people looking for work. And so
I hope they all find it, honestly.
and they will. This is a good group of people. Juan, I'm going to paraphrase your question. All those classic interview questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Do you prepare for those types of questions? I mean,
I do. Yeah. I know that they're always the basics that you're going to be asked. They're the ones that you hope you won't get asked. Like the one that I hate the most is, what are your weaknesses? I understand why it's being asked. I hope it won't get asked. But I usually, when I'm preparing for an interview, I write these all down. Sometimes it's in a notebook and sometimes it's like on a piece of paper. And I actually hear applicants a lot of times on the phone since we've gone virtual for COVID. I hear people flipping through their notes. And that's a great sign to me that you've prepared for this interview. So I'll have a page that is preparing for those types of questions, like tell me about a time when or whatever. I would think about referencing what I call the kudos file. It's this file of experiences that you have or certifications that you have or projects that you've worked on, things that you must talk about before you close the interview. What are the successes in your career that you must reference? So write all those down first. Look at the questions that you expect to be asked and figure out what are each of those questions looking for? What characteristics do you think the interviewer will be looking for? And which of those experiences can you tie back to each of those questions? And then you go on to your third page, which is maybe brainstorming which questions have multiple examples. And how can you bring the questions that you're met with in the interview? How can you bring those back around to your kudos file? If you don't have an answer that fits specifically to the question they're asking, what do you want to talk about then? What characteristics did you want to highlight and how can you make those apply?
You definitely, no, that's great. You have got to watch Mad Men, Stephanie. Have you ever watched that series?
I have not.
All the stuff you kind of talk about, it's, if you don't like what people are saying, change the conversation. It's like, yes. Such great lines. And I think you'd have made it big in the late 50s, early 60s.
I'm born in the wrong time, man.
Aren't we all? Okay, let me sneak in one more because this is more of a soft feel. All right. Somebody needs a hug. All right. And we're just the people to give it to you, Juan. What advice can you give to nervous applicants about being interviewed? Other than imagining the interviewer in their underwear.
That has never worked for me. I am not that imaginative, to be honest. I think do everything you can ahead of time. Interviews are they're just conversations. I know the dynamic is that one person has all the power and you're hoping that they recognize your worth and your value, but you have your worth and your value before you walk in there. No matter what happens, you still have that when you leave. So there are definitely tactics you can do to make sure that you feel comfortable and confident. And that is taking care of yourself physically. Make sure that you're in an outfit that is comfortable. There used to be so many like articles and blogs about how to prepare for an interview, and a lot of it focused on what you wore. Throw that out. Wear something that's professional. Wear something that you're not going to be, if you're wearing a jacket and it just doesn't fit who you are and you're uptight, that's going to make you more nervous and it's going to throw off your answers. You're going to come across as nervous and inauthentic. Make sure you get a lot of sleep the night before. Like, take care of your body going into the interview so you set yourself up for success when it comes to your physiological response to stress. Mentally, just be aware of like all the preparation that you did going into the meeting. Make sure that you, I don't know, I guess just make sure that you're prepared as much as you can be so that you have no regrets walking out of that. And then as long as you do your best going into that, there is nothing else you can do that changes changes the outcome. If you've done your best, you can leave it all there. There's nothing to be ashamed of or stressed about afterwards.
The only thing I would add to what you said is remember that they are so desperate to fill a position that they have full-time employees whose only job is to find you. They're looking for you, okay? What you have to do is show them that you are what they're looking for. That's the only real job, right? And in the meantime, make sure that there's nothing weird about this job that would explain why they're having trouble filling the position. And you know, I got to tell you, for me, the big thing is remembering that interviewing is a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're coming in there with your hat in your hand, you know, yes, sir. You know, we're Southerners down here, Stephanie. So a lot of yes, ma'ams and yes, sirs. And I'm like, I go, there's nothing wrong with that. But remember, they have to sell you too. You're coming in with a bunch of skills that they need, and they need to talk about that too. All right.
I was gonna say,
please.
with the yes ma'am and the yes sir, there's also the bless your heart down here. And so right. If the situation doesn't seem right for you, then it's a bless your heart, thank you for this interview, and you walk away.
Where are you from, Stephanie? Kentucky.
I'm from Illinois, but I've been in Kentucky long enough to know what bless your heart means.
We're in Illinois.
It's called Pontiac. It's really small.
There's a Pontiac, Michigan.
There is, and everyone gets us confused.
Okay. So I used to live all around there. I still got family in Chicago and all over. So it's always fun to talk about. Stephanie, wow. First of all, when you get a chance, please go back to the Total Seminars channel. We're going to keep this interview up and check it out. There's so many people thanking you directly. So yeah, just a bunch of people are very appreciative and who've done of these. And so thank you very, very much, Stephanie. Everybody really appreciated you helping us out. Yes, we'll bring Stephanie back. Let's see what her availability is. And we'll probably do some marketing on it too. It seems that we may have hit a nerve in terms of some topics that people really want to talk about. And we will happily do that for you. What I was thinking, if you don't mind, Stephanie, we're almost at 3:15. We're way over. Would you be interested in joining a job panel of folks who are maybe not all have the same type of job in the hiring process, but at least similar ones where you could, balance those things out?
Yeah, absolutely. How awkward would that be if I said no, though?
Well, then I would start flashing my 50s, like this, making it rain.
Well, you don't need to go there. Yes, I would be more than happy to help on your job panel.
And so, Stephanie, what is your company's name before we go?
Squad Go.
All right.
Like Squad Goals, but Squad Go.
I like it. And exactly what does Squad Go do?
Is a group travel planning platform that helps reduce the friction between you decide you want to go on a trip to the time that you come back home from your trip. It's
trying to get 27 people at the same place at the same time.
Right. Yeah. You know how much of a headache that is, bebopping around through all the different apps that are out there, and we bring that all into one.
Professional cat herders.
Yes, that's us.
All right. Well, wonderful. Guys, thank you so much. Do keep on. I'm sorry we didn't do the contest today, but I think Miss Stephanie was a scintillating, there we go, scintillating guest. And we're looking forward to having you back. Stephanie, thank you so much, guys. So you got to do it. You got to do this with me. You ready? All right. We're going to say goodbye at the same time. Hand motion. You ready? Here we go. Ready? So this is your Uncle Mike saying
Goodbye.
bye-bye, guys. Bye.